So, Connie, let's transition to the subject of leadership for a minute, a subject near and dear to my heart. As Peter and I have interviewed various leaders, this whole concept of culture comes up time and time again, and how important it is to driving business success. Can you give us maybe an example over the course of your career where, in fact, that's been the case, and tell us a little bit about the culture and why it led to success?
I'll talk about the transition. It's one of my favorite topics, and I think that it's getting talked about more and more today. But I will tell you, when I started at BRE, I'm not sure the word culture ever came out of anyone's mouth. And so I look at, let me just give you that example there, that we knew at BRE that we needed to change our culture. It was not a culture that was based on trust. There was suspicion. It was a little toxic. And so we were very purposeful about thinking about the kind of culture that we wanted. And we knew that it was going to take time. I can remember the 6 of us leaders sitting in the front of the entire organization and saying, all right, ask us any questions. And at first it was anonymous. It was like we would start opening up pieces of paper and nobody wanted to get up and ask the question. And we allowed that for a while. And then we finally said, if we're going to build this on trust, we need people to trust that we will answer their questions authentically, but they need to be brave enough to get up and ask the questions. And I think what I would describe is that we became a feedback culture, so that we would give and take on feedback. So I might say to you, Bill, are you open to some feedback? And you might say, Connie, not right now. Can you get back to me later? Sure, Bill, I'll get back to you, but I am going to give you feedback. I've frequently had people come into my office and say, hey, Connie, can I give you some feedback? And it changed the language, but it started with trust. And it became most evident, I think, when we actually did our transaction with Essex in 2014, because the team knew that I would tell them the truth, tell them that what was happening, how it was impacting the company, and how it was, more importantly, how it was going to impact them. Some people knew that they would keep their jobs. Some people knew that they wouldn't keep their jobs. But what they knew was that I would be honest with them. And I think that it was that level of trust. I think one of my proudest moments was during a meeting with the Essex senior leadership and our entire team. And I warned Essex. I said, all right, look, our guys are really used to honest answers, and they're going to get up and ask you questions. And so somebody did, and they said, hey, we know our executives really, really well, and we have a terrific culture here at BRE. Can you explain the culture at Essex? And I remember thinking 3 or 4 years ago, no one would have ever, been brave enough to ask. And so I think culture starts with trust, and it has to come from the top. Because if it isn't supported all the way through the organization, there will be a culture that exists. It may not be the culture that you want. I have seen what happens to a toxic, suspicious culture, and I think that defining how it works for you. I still have people email me saying, I can't believe we had such a great deal at BRE. We had such a great culture. And so I think it's important that you define it, that you're purposeful about it. And it needs to be across all leadership, but it starts with, what is it? Who are we? We were very clear that every encounter that we had, whether it was with an associate, a resident, or a shareholder, or an external vendor, if we always considered that encounter from their point of view, I used to say, we'll be the best company in the world. And so people felt very connected to that, and the culture started to build on itself. So, Bill, it's such an important question today, and it's one of the reasons I worry about meetings like this, because we're not in the same room, we're not experiencing each other in the same ways that we did before. But culture it's just kind of a hot button for me. And it's trying to understand the culture of, I'm on 3 public boards and on university boards. Every organization has a different culture, and you need to respect it. But how does that filter through the organization? It's just so important.